Hello, I hope you're having a great day and thanks for tuning into my channel. If this is your first time, welcome. I'm talking today about our conversation style and how to make the right first impression. Now, we're going to get specific about some practical tips how to communicate and how to be comfortable in interacting with someone for the first, the second time. So I'm Taylor Burrows. I am a retired mental health and marriage and family counselor. I now work as a men's and a women's coach, and I'd like to help you develop your ideal self, ideal lifestyle, and ideal relationship. So in regards to what I call vetting, this is the process of getting to know someone in order to determine if you're willing to commit to a relationship with them and if you're a good match, if you're compatible. And so one of the things that's really important in order to determine that someone is compatible with you is you really have to get to know them. You have to disarm them in a way, and you have to see the real them, because people put up fronts all the time. You need to be mindful of your speech pacing. You need to make sure that you're not talking too much, basically. And so in order to do that, you really want to be observing their behavior, and you want to be enticing and encouraging them to share more with you. Now, this isn't to say you can't share about yourself, but you want to be a little bit more patient and not be so pressured with your speech. So one of the tips that you can use is really having a curious and exploratory mindset, so that you're really taking in the information that you're getting from them and learning to be mindful, learning to be present with them in the moment, not thinking about what was just said before and not thinking about what you're going to say in the next minute. So being present and observing their verbals, their facial expressions, their nonverbals, kind of their twitches, their body movements, and signals that maybe they're interested or they're not. But first and foremost, you want to assess whether they're being straightforward, whether they're being honest, whether they're comfortable, and whether they're engaged, right? And so in order to help them feel engaged, you want to help them feel comfortable. And so the more you talk and the faster you talk, the more on edge they may feel, the less comfortable they may feel, and the more you're going to be subcommunicating that you're not comfortable and you're not at ease, right? So you want to communicate that confidence. And when you're confident, you can handle silence and gaps in the conversation. You're also not trying to impress them. So people that are trying hard to impress somebody typically talk more. They're sharing too much information about themselves, or they're too worried about leading the situation because they want the other person to be entertained. And so be very mindful of that, especially as a man. Like, this is more from the context of a man, like a man's perspective, from a woman's perspective about a man. So for men, it will communicate that weakness, that lack of confidence, and that insecurity, like you're trying to impress the woman too much. That's not attractive to a woman, okay? You want to communicate that you're comfortable, not like so laid back that you're like, I don't know, like super hipster, but you want to have that air of internalized confidence. Like you don't need to seek her approval. You don't need to try so hard to make an impression. You just are very confident being yourself and not forcing the situation. Whatever happens, happens. You just know that you want to have a good time and really get to know her. And so in order to do that, one of the tips that I suggest is what we call mirroring. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Voss, but he does a really great masterclass. He's a negotiator. He wrote a book. I forgot the name of the book right now, but the masterclass is really informative, and he strikes on those points that I try to drive home all the time in regards to communicating that connection and that what he calls tactical empathy, which is really just emotional intelligence from the way that I understand it and agree with him about. But basically, it's being able to disarm a person enough so that you get the real them and that you can create a very positive experience together. So the goal is to have fun, to be safe, to trust each other, and to have a mutually beneficial outcome. And so this is the technique that he suggests in order to bring them down off of their defense mechanisms, so that you can get to know them better. So mirroring is really just reflecting back what you've heard using your tone of voice, your inflections, and your body language, so that you're communicating that you're listening actively and you're interested in what they have to say. So it's funny that a lot of people make the mistake of assuming that talking too much and sharing a whole bunch of information makes somebody interesting or entertaining, right? Like someone fun to be around, but that's not necessarily true. The more you say is not the better, right? Put it that way. So you want to be careful that you're sharing too much of, it's like clutter, auditory clutter, and people are going to get distracted and they're going to get disinterested, but you're also going to kind of seem a little bit full of yourself and maybe, again, like you're trying too hard. So the mirroring is really just repeating a couple words back of a main point that someone just shared, but you want to be able to communicate that you're interested with your leaning forward, comfortable eye contact, and the tone of your voice. So a couple of things that you can do with your voice, which you should be mindful of, is one, you want it to be a comfortable pace where it's not so slow that someone gets impatient, or it's not too fast that it's hard to pick up what you're saying. So you can lower the tone, like the volume of your voice, so that they have to lean in a little bit, but also you don't want it to be too high pitched so that you come across as unsure, right? When you make that sort of sound in the end that sounds like a question mark, unless you're intending to ask a question, it's going to come across shy and like unsure, insecure, and not confident. So definitely low and slow, but not too slow. And having that curiosity, so you want to have like a curious element to what you're saying, but you don't want to come across as insecure. So if the person were to say, oh, I love my job, helping people is really important to me, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It just really makes me excited to wake up in the morning, and talking to people and helping them makes me feel good. So you could repeat a couple of the main words back to her, summarizing what she said, so you really like helping people. It makes you excited to wake up in the morning. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, I love it. I go to bed excited and I wake up ready for my day. Totally grateful for being able to connect with people in that way. So you see how it just really engages someone to share more information. And you're not going to just do that again and again and again. You are going to mix it up a little bit. As you get more skillful in the area, then you're going to learn different techniques in order to communicate that tactical empathy or emotional intelligence, so that you are helping someone feel comfortable. But you can actually do it for the most part, like just that, if you do it well. But I don't want you to feel like you're being robotic and reflecting back repeating her words, right? So you need to be creative with it, but ultimately what you're trying to do is read in between the lines. You're not trying to be her therapist. This is another big mistake. You're literally just trying to let her know that you're paying attention. And by listening, by repeating the words, you're indicating that you're listening to her, which indicates the interest. And it's funny because it connects to the person's ego, so they feel like you're being interested in them is something that makes them feel good, so they want to come back for more. So they then project that interest to you, like you're an interesting person because you are interested in them, and they like to feel heard and like you're paying attention to them. It's validation. So that will help connect to somebody. But one of the other things I want you to consider is when you're listening, is listening in between the lines, right? So it's like, usually people won't tell you like directly what they're trying to say. They'll kind of dance around it. And it's important for you to try to make those connections so that they feel like you're you're connecting on a deeper level, but without it seeming like you're trying to catch her in a lie, or you're trying to interrogate her, anything like that, right? It's supposed to be very softly done, right? Like you're definitely not making any types of accusations. You're really just trying to put the pieces together. And it's okay if you project a little bit. You can be wrong. It's just that effort in trying to understand what she's saying on a deeper level. But again, don't focus so much on being right or interrupting. You're not trying to direct the conversation so much as you are trying to keep it going. It's like you're breathing life into it by allowing them to lead the way. Well, you're leading the way in regards to bringing life to it, but they're then reciprocating more information. So it's like this really nice flow that can evolve from this type of conversation where you're not actually sharing a whole bunch about yourself. So the focus is on the other person, but they're not going to notice that so much, right? Like by the end of this opportunity that you have to have this conversation, whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person, they're going to feel like you shared a lot, like you talked a lot. But ultimately, if you're kind of paying attention and you think about it, you're like, oh, what do I know about this person? If they're doing their vetting, then they're going to notice they don't know a whole bunch about you. So you can't keep that up for too long with two aware people who are trying to get to know each other. But definitely in the beginning, you want to really focus on listening and observing more than talking. So I hope that explains a little bit about how that subcommunicates weakness and insecurity and trying to impress somebody when you don't want to do that. And like with women, if we turn this around and talk about women in this position when they talk too much or too fast, just oversharing in general, it's going to subcommunicate that they're neurotic and they're probably vain. So if they don't care about what you have to say, they're probably not that interested. So that would be more indicative of the problem for women and something that they need to be mindful of. But the same goes for women, just being receptive and being sure to do the reflection and the mirroring and have that tactical empathy or emotional intelligence in the process will do them a world of good as well. So if everyone's doing their part, hopefully you'll have a very comfortable and satisfying conversation with both people who feel very confident and secure and safe in order to gradually peel back the layers and connect to a new person in a safe and satisfying way. I hope you enjoyed that. If it was helpful, do like this video, comment below, and stick around, subscribe to the channel, and you can see more. So have a good day. Talk to you soon. Ciao.